What is up, Bears fans? Welcome to the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your UK take on all things Chicago Bears. Guys, we are fast approaching the NFL season, obviously with next Monday night, obviously being the Bears opener against the Vikings. And look, I think it's fair to say that injury issues and injury problems are mounting in on the Bears roster. We could talk about the secondary, we could talk about the safeties, we could talk about the defensive ends, we could talk about the edge rush, we could talk about a number of different things, but I want to concentrate on an issue that has been kind of there all off season, an issue that's kind of been talked about by Bears fans across the whole off season, and that is the running back room. Now, we're going into this Monday night opener. The Bears running back room looks a little bit bereft of players, full stop, with even DJ Moore taking some snaps at running back in camp due to the fact that there was a huge number of injuries to the Bears running back options. Obviously, D'Andre Swift is the one fit running back and obviously the RB1 anyway. And there's been a debate over D'Andre Swift anyway, going into this season, whether he will be the guy, whether Ben Johnson rates him, whether Ben Johnson can see him having a future. D'Andre Swift obviously was with the Lions, was traded by the Lions when Ben Johnson was there. And obviously, that could be a situation that shows that Johnson doesn't have the faith in him. But I think Swift, who obviously had some critiques last season, still rushed for over 900 yards behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. And now, with a better offensive coach, a better offensive coordinator, and also a better offensive line, probably stands a better chance of some better numbers this season. However, where's the backup going to come from for Swift? Obviously, Johnson at the moment, Roschon Johnson injured, Kyle Monangai injured, Travis Homer injured. So where does the option come from? Now, obviously, we have Benjamin Britton on the, Britton Brown, sorry, not Benjamin Britton, who's he? Britton Brown, formerly of the Seahawks, on the practice squad. He could well be called up. However, there's some calls within the fan base and obviously certainly within Bears media to perhaps look outside of the organisation and look at options around the league on other practice squads where we could perhaps steal a player from. Now, one possible player that has been identified is Seahawks rookie Damian Martinez. Certainly someone that I looked at during the mock draft process. Certainly someone I did mock to the Bears in the later rounds. He's got some pretty impressive numbers, has old Damian Martinez, coming out of college and going to play for the Seahawks. And he is only, like I said, on their practice squad. He is not within the actual Seahawks roster at this moment in time. So, this could be someone worth looking at. Again, someone who is obviously not going to have a high on cost, someone who could be quite easily got by the Bears. Now, let's have a little look. Damian Martinez, I think, could add a little bit of help, even in the short term, to the Bears in that backfield. Like I said, last week we had a practice where D'Andre Swift was the only running back from that 53-man roster healthy. When you've only got one running back healthy and one running back you're constantly turning to, you've got to kind of look outside the organization or go somewhere to find someone to back up your leading man. Like I said, a number of media sources are quoting Damian Martinez as someone who could currently make sense. He is a rookie who is stashed on the Seahawks practice squad. Now, he was not a high draft pick, but he has got a very impressive college resume, and he fits the early down runner that the Bears are missing out on at the moment with the injuries to Roschon Johnson and to Kyle Monangai. Martinez went to Oregon State, where he did exceptionally impressively in his first 2 years before he transferred to Miami for the 2024 season. During his time in college, he forced more than 130 missed tackles, and he was drafted actually in the 7th round by Seattle, so very much on the same sort of level as a Kyle Monangai. Seattle has a very crowded backfield. That led to his release on cutdown day and his quick return to the practice squad. So that's why he's obviously not an option at the moment for the Seahawks. In terms of of Damian Martinez, in terms of what he does, He was coming out of college with a likelihood of player comparison to Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez and Tank Bigsby. They were the players he was compared to coming out of college. He's 6 foot, he's 217 pounds. He ran a 4.540. That's probably why he was drafted later on in that draft behind the likes of Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scatterbo, for example. He's again another bruising runner, very much in the Kyle Monungai kind of of mould. He possesses exceptional balance in contact. He's got great vision. He's got good thunder as a finisher. He's got very good in short yardage situations. All sorts of areas the Bears could well be looking at to add to their room. Now, in terms of his stats, here are his stats coming out of college. In 2022 with Oregon State, he had 161 carries for 982 yards, averaging 6.1 yards per carry, 7 TDs, 50 on the long. Then in 2023, he came back, had an even better year, 194 carries, 1,185 yards, 6.1 average, 9 touchdowns, 64 long. Then obviously the transfer to Miami came, where he had 159 carries, over 1,000 yards, again a 6.3 average, a 10 touchdown season for him there. Overall in college he had over 514 carries, 3,000 yards and 6.2 average per carry. So this is a very good runner. He averaged 3.4 in preseason for the Seahawks. He also receiving, receiving is not one of his big things, but in 2024 he had 17 receptions for 204 yards, 12-yard average, 11 in 2023, 126 yards, 11.5 average. So, this is a player who could come in and, given the fact that running back depth does not look clever at this moment in time, that he could be someone who comes in even as a replacement for Travis Homer. Maybe he could probably go and play on special teams, or even add to this running back room, a room that I think a lot of Bears fans have already kind of said that we do need to add to, we do need to improve. Damian Martinez, again, like I said, we're not going to be shopping in the big market now. We're not looking for these top level running backs at this moment in time. We're not in that position. If you go and look at the way that the Eagles build their roster for their Super Bowls, and I'm not saying that we should be Super Bowl contenders this season, but, Saquon Barkley was kind of the last piece. And I think running backs often and paying big money and big trades or anything like that for running backs comes near the end when you're getting pretty much close to finalising your Super Bowl roster. At the moment, I think it's just about supplementing those running backs. It's about adding to those running backs, and I think someone like a Damian Martinez could be a good bet for the Bears. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and if you like that idea. Thanks for watching the Bears Huddle podcast. Please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Bear down.